Hi everyone, my name's Dill and I'd like to welcome you to our new podcast called Tales from the PowerAge. Over the coming weeks, we're going to be covering some of the classic tours and albums which we were all lucky enough to attend and live through. Our first few podcasts will focus from Tales from the 80s, where we'll be sharing our fading memories, merchandise, programs, and personal stories from those times. You may even get to see some plectrums if you're lucky too. The stories are experiences from a British lens and our views from those halcyon days. Some of those stories may differ from reality, but bear with us, the memory isn't quite what it used to be. I'm sure you'll be there to correct us if we slip up. So please like, share, subscribe, and get involved. The podcast will also have some special regular features over the next few weeks. They'll include Postie's Bean, where we'll share our latest vinyl purchases, Tours Talk, where we'll talk about recent gigs that we've attended and upcoming gigs that we've got lined up. And we'll also be giving special mentions to independent record stores and record fairs. That's what keeps us going. So who's running this podcast? Well, we're a collection of metalheads and rockers, and believe it or not, we've been friends for over 40 years. I know that's hard to believe looking at us. And yeah, there's the picture. That picture's back, takes us right the way back to 1987, which was Donington. I nearly said Download. From memory, that was headlined by Bon Jovi, Dio, Metallica, and I think actually Anthrax played as well. But we'll save that for another time. And the picture underneath, those handsome chaps, yes, they're one and the same as the guys above. Is the same merry troupe at a rock festival, Hard Rock Hell in Wales, which was relatively near a beach and quite near a mountain. But outside of that, I can't really remember much more about it. So, who's on this call? Who's on the podcast? So, Gav, Gappy, Jammer, give us a wave.
Hello.
Hello, guys. All right. So, look, Gav, tell us, just introduce yourself, man.
Hi, I'm Gav. Been into rock and metal all my life. Been drumming as well since I was about 6 or 7. Been in loads of bands, and my first gigs, I guess, would be a good indication of where my love for metal started. So my first gig was Kiss, Wembley Arena, 83, Lick It Up tour, and followed swiftly from the October to the December Judas Priest, Defenders tour, Hammersmith Odeon, which was just amazing, still one of my favourite gigs ever. And then the following year in 84 was Magnum, Dunstable, with young Gappy in attendance also. So that's the kind of stuff I like. Other favourite bands would be obviously Judas Priest, Kiss, Thin Lizzy, Queen, Magnum being a big one. Got a signed Magnum guitar behind me. So you hear about our tastes and stuff as we go through the podcast. That's me.
Brilliant. Cheers, Cap. And trust me, if we get anything wrong, he'll be telling us afterwards, because he reads everything and remembers everything that he can to do with rock in particular. So, Gappy, over to you. I know we've been good friends a long time as well. So, do you want to give us a summary of you quickly?
Yeah, hello. I'm Gappy. I'm known as the metalhead of the group. You can tell probably because of the hair length. I grew up on AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Rainbow, Motorhead, and Van Halen. I still love all that old stuff, and I'm really into the newer metal, rock and metal bands as well. Big mentions to Amon Amarth, Arch Enemy, Insomnium. But what I really like to say is a big shout out to the great British heavy rock bands, which are currently thriving on a fantastic scene that we have in this wonderful country of ours at the moment. I'd like to give a shout out to South of Salem, Those Damn Crows, Florence Black, but mainly the biggest band I think are the most amazing band at the moment are Massive Wagons. I'm a patron of them, and it's the first time I've ever been in a fan group, and I'm 53 years old. But what a fantastic band they are. Cheers. Off you go.
He looks really well for 53. He's obviously had a really easy life. Not a grey hair inside.
Absolutely. Totally easy life, me.
Easy life. Right, let's come over to Japper. Chapo.
Chapo.
I call him Jammy. So
Love it.
Jamo to his friends.
Jamo to his friends.
As
So
you'll notice,
yeah,
Gappy's
you, mate.
older.
All right,
Gappy's
Chapo.
Gappy's a few
Go on then,
years younger than the rest
Chapo.
of us. He's older than the rest of us, obviously. Basically, everything that Gav said, everything that Gappy said, but just take out the Amon Amarth and the arch enemy. I like all types of metal. I specialise in the classic rock from back in the day, the new wave of classic rock now, which I adore, I love. Pop punk, sticking some metalcore, bit of pendulum, drum and bass, some Enter Shikari, and we're on the way to being in the right place. As far as these boys are concerned, known them forever. First, one of my earliest memories of the big metalhead in the corner was obviously seeing him in his blue anorak first week of secondary school. Nice blue anorak. He had a patch on the back and it had rainbow on it with a rainbow. And I remember thinking that guy is either into rock music or he really celebrates the 70s children's show that had Bungle and Zippy in it. Turned out it was Rainbow, the band. And so, yeah, I remember that from many, many moons ago. But yeah, I'll be the one that will be bringing us back to bringing all different types of metal into the show. So thank you. Looking forward to reminiscing with my mates.
Good lad.
Cheers, Jammy. I won't call you Jamo or anything else that sounds anything like Jamo or Jammy. So thank you. Really appreciate that. Okay, well, my name's Dill. I've got a slightly disturbing obsession with AC/DC. I absolutely love them. And just this morning, I managed to order a promo from the States.
We're shocked.
Look at the Switch. So really looking forward to getting that. I've got a Mexican copy of High Voltage on the way. So again, really looking forward to that. I've got a Brazilian copy of Blow Up Your Video on the way as well. So looking forward to that being sent tomorrow, and also a picture disc of Stiff Upper Lip. So that will just nestle nicely in the pile of AC/DC albums that I've got hidden behind me. So that's me in terms of my main interest. I've been into rock and metal probably in similar amount of time as these guys. My first album bought was No Sleep to Hammersmith, and my first gig was Saxon back in the day. So we've all got probably very similar interests, and I've had very similar paths over the last 40 or so years. So let's get on to today's podcast. I'm conscious that today we were going to talk about the iconic tour, an album from Iron Maiden. So we're going to be wind the clock back to 1984 and talk today about Powerslave. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the World Slavery Tour after that. We're all lucky enough to go and be involved in that in a relatively small venue, which will show some of the memorabilia from that. But thinking about the release of that album and I guess the anticipation of the release of that album, Gav, what are your initial memories of that? And when you recollect back, what really sticks in your mind?
There was excitement amongst the boys. Obviously, coming from Peace of Mind, Trooper, Flight of Icarus, all those fantastic songs. You know, everything was coming together. Bruce was in and settled in. Nico was settled in. And, and when they finally issued a new single, which was 2 Minutes to Midnight, it properly set the world on fire, really. We knew that we were going to be onto a cracking album. The production was amazing. The sleeve was amazing. I think Derek Riggs was doing his finest material at that point as well. And we had a good B-side. We had the funny Mission from Harry as well, which was hilarious. And then a couple of weeks later, I think it was, Powerslave comes out itself. Again, I think it was kind of the alignment of stars situation with the band being totally in sync. They'd toured the world. They'd become an incredible outfit. They were really on fire as far as songwriting, everyone contributing to songwriting pretty much. Bruce was in his element, writing more songs than ever. The sleeve, I love Egyptian stuff anyway, so it was perfect. The marrying of Maiden and the Egyptian kind of themes. And it was just on a grander scale. Everything was bigger and better than previously. You know, and the sleeve was absolutely incredible. You could, when you listen to the 53 minutes of music, you could find new things every time you looked at the sleeve. I know Gappy's going to go on to talk about it, but got it on the day of release with the merch sheet, which I'm pretty sure I've got a picture of somewhere. You know, I guess once the album was out, it was followed up by what was the next one? Aces High as well. You know, so it's just a fantastic run of classic singles, and you know, everyone here had the additional excitement of knowing that we were going to go and see them at the Oxford Apollo 3 weeks after the record was released. You know, which was just, you know, beyond exciting for our 14-year-old, 13-year-old minds at the time.
And Gav, just on the artwork alone, I know that we've talked about this a few times, and I know, thinking back to that time, you were just so detailed and understanding what was in the artwork. Are there any things in particular that stood out to you?
Yeah, well, you know, like I mentioned, this is the original one that I got at the time, which has got the textured sleeve. It's a way of saying it's way of knowing it's the first press in the UK. You know, I'm sure everyone is aware of this, unless you're purely Spotify or CD even, but in amongst the hieroglyphs, there's loads of hidden messages, including What No Guinness. There's a Mickey Mouse. Indiana Jones was here. I'll let you guys find
my personal favourite.
What Indiana Jones was here.
Absolutely, it's fucking brilliant.
I think there's a bollock somewhere as well, but I can't remember where it is. But that says it all. Yeah, so I've got all of the 7 inches and the 12 inches of. In fact, this is my Postie's just been version.
Hey.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the kind of artwork and the lead up to how I absorbed the album. But you know, I have to say it's my favourite Maiden album, favourite Maiden studio album by a long way.
Brilliant, thanks, Gav. So I'll just let you finish your drink, Gappy. So just thinking about the release of the album and the songs that. And some of them were, you know, thinking back now, they're incredible. What really stood out for you, and what were your memories leading up to that point?
Well, we'd heard 2 Minutes to Midnight come out, and it was just a step up from everything I'd ever heard before. I loved Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind was a brilliant album. Number of the Beast was a brilliant album. But the first time I heard 2 Minutes to Midnight, I knew they were going to be onto something a little bit more special. Me and Gav, we got the album when it first came out. Probably not the first day because we were still at school. So we probably went on a Saturday to a little record shop in Tame, a newsagent, as it happened, that still would sell vinyl in those days. And we bought Powerslave. We knew we were going to go and see them in about 3 weeks' time. And I remember we both got the album, we took it back to his house, and we played every single song. And we played it and played it and played it until we knew every word from every song on that album. It was just absolutely brilliant. I can't fault the album. It was just superb. Favourite songs on the album at the time would probably have been the single already, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Flash of the Blade. But the best song on the album was going to be Rime of the Ancient Mariner, 13.5 minutes. And what on earth could they do with that? Could they really play that live? Could it actually happen that we would actually see that live? And yeah, of course they played it live, and it was absolutely amazing.
I think, yeah, look, some great memories. I think Rime comes in at 13:45, which is amazing when you think about it. And I know just watching more recently Bohemian Rhapsody, and they make a big play on that song being so long, which again, don't quote me on this, is about 6.5 minutes, I think, from memory. So to think that that's double that, and really landed well, I think, when the album was released. I did see some Twitter chat around Rime actually yesterday, just about how amazing it was when the band played Twickenham in 2008, I think it was, maybe 2007.
We were there.
There's quite a bit of chat around that because it's part of the stamp collection that's recently been released as well. So Rime was the one that everybody was commenting on in terms of memory.
Did they play that at Twickenham then? I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, Jamo,
Didn't think they did.
same to you,
Yeah.
Jamo. What are your thoughts from leading up to that album?
I had older brothers. We spoke about this in the intro. I had older brothers, so I we'd had Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. I'd had Peace of Mind record. I nicked that off my brother way a long time ago. Peace of Mind's not been long before that, but I wasn't allowed to go. Apparently, I wasn't old enough to go to Peace of Mind. I was gutted. I was very disappointed. But at the same time, it just meant that this was a long time coming when we came around to this. But that 2 minutes to midnight, that was my picture of my 2 minutes to midnight 12-inch that Gav put up before. And when that came out, early August, it was just awesome. Just from the first couple of bars of that tune, it just kicked in with the guitar, and you knew this is going to be something special. As with every record, there you go. Whenever I got a new record, I'd put it on my record player, put it as loud as I could get away with, lay on my bed. I'd usually read the lyrics. If it's an LP, you'd read the lyrics, you'd learn every word. Of course, when the 12-inch came out, we didn't have lyrics on it, but you had to turn the cover over, and I spent my time laying on my bed listening to that song, loving every bit of it, and just looking at the tour dates on the back of the 12-inch. That was a real buzz, knowing that we were going to be seeing them. We've had tickets to go and see them. There you go, hell of a tour on there, all the UK dates at the awesome Oxford Apollo. So we were looking forward to the Powerslave. When that came out, obviously I got it on release start of September. Again, same as Gap said. Flash of the Blade, I love the whole record, but Flash of the Blade for me was immense. Loved it. 2 minutes we loved so much. And Rhyme the Ancient Mariner just stuck out. But that 2 minutes to midnight 12-inch single that I purchased for $1.99 from Our Price Records, that made its journey over to a disco that I know there's several of us were at. No, definitely Gappy. A nearby village. We went along to this disco. All these 14-year-old metalheads. I presented it to the disco guy because he was playing his.
That disco was amazing, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because so I handed it to him and said, "If you just slip this one in there," and he kindly did. So he
that was awesome.
And we all entered the dance floor to have a nice little dance. So we're banging our heads, dandruff everywhere, thrashing them. We were just superb. I mean, put it down to it. Needless to say, none of us pulled that night, but we loved it. It's one song amongst the whole disco, and we were proud as anything. But cracking song, cracking record, just led up so well to being ready. Start of the tour for Maiden to conquer what felt like at the time they're going to conquer the world.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Peace of Mind tour, they'd already done amazingly, and when you look back, because I had the program to that lived in my room. I got it off my brother after he'd been to the Peace of Mind tour. It set so nicely ready for this tour. Yeah, and that was it as far as my recollections are concerned.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
Really good. Really interesting. I've got a couple of memories prior to leading up to the album being released. One that I was away on I managed to get roped into a scout trip away for the weekend, canoeing. And I only went because it was canoeing. It sounded quite good. I wasn't in the scouts, but one of the guys from school. We bought the album just before we went away and managed to get it taped onto TDK and took a ghetto blaster with us. So one of the abiding memories is that putting 2 minutes to midnight on at 7 o'clock in the morning, waking everybody up for the day, which was brilliant. A couple of things that I've got as well. Yeah, I've got the Powerslave album as well. And as Gav said, it's slightly textured, which denotes the first press. I was lucky enough to get mine signed on the Somewhere Back in Time tour, Oxford tour. So,
or even the Somewhere in Time tour.
Adrian Smith, Bruce Dickinson, just about to see Steve Harris, hopefully in the middle. And then Nico, who always used to sign Tar Nico. So that was cool. But yeah, as Jamie mentioned, one of the things that's brilliant with Maiden around that time on the 7-inch and 12-inch is they used to put the tour dates on to advertise where they were going to be. Now, of course, that's
brilliant.
That's a great way of promoting your gig and pushing it. But for us, obviously, picking these items up a few weeks before we were due to go just heightened to the excitement. So I think the guys have mentioned that the album had been released. This was leading up to the gig, and we'd all got tickets for Oxford Apollo. And for those of you that don't know, Oxford Apollo. So this was on the 21st of September. For those of you who don't know, Oxford Apollo has a capacity of 1,800. So in today's terms, it's tiny. And I think we thought, even at that time, they'd be coming every single year. We just thought that was the norm, that Maiden would come because they'd been the year before and the year before that. So let's just have a chat around some of our memories of the gig itself. So, Jamie, do you want to just give us your memories from that gig?
Yeah. Back then, Oxford Apollo, as you mentioned, they used to take the front few rows out to create an awesome pit for a few hundred metalheads. We qualified. So when getting tickets, it's quite cool. Ideally, you'd have the first few rows, so you'd just be able to walk in past the security. I'm in the pit. If you didn't, you had to be a bit more smart, and you might have to go over a few rows of seats to get there when the gig started, or just pile into the security guards. Seemed to work sometimes for me. You just pile in there, and then they go, can't be bothered. Little fellas. Let's go in. So yeah, it was perfect. There weren't that many theatres like that I know of in the UK that used to do that. But of course, Oxford, it was all seated, so it just had seats. So it's good they took out a few rows. For Maiden, I was in the front. I had a front row ticket. Although looking back, it was row K, so I think I had to do the jumping in the front bit. And then there was no moshing, none of that sort of thing. We would just jump up and down. Buzz one, so you're talking a few hundred people at the front of the theatre. The whole theatre was packed. There you go. The whole theatre was packed. You had a stalls, circle, and a balcony. So we were in the front few hundred, just literally just denim and leather, youths, jumping up and down, banging your head, singing every word to yourself, to everyone. There was no leaving. You didn't leave once the band come on. You didn't leave. You just jumping up and down. And for me personally, it was brilliant. We might get a look at the set list later, but during running free, second tune from the end, I felt it all go apart. I started feeling a bit faint, as you do, and I literally just passed out, just collapsed. Couple of older dudes, I'd have called them. They were probably 18 or 19. They kindly picked me up, plonked me on the first available seat. I literally just sprawled back, just a sopping wet 14-year-old metalhead. I remember looking up and seeing the lights and thinking I hadn't noticed the actual rigs they had, because that's brilliant, the actual lights. When you look back, you look at the different live covers, and I remember just laying there looking back and thinking, God, that's brilliant. And just thinking how classic they've been, and just I wanted to get back up and get back in the pit, but I thought I was shattered. And I thought, this is amazing. And I watched the last song and I just thought, brilliant. And when I look back now, and I think to myself, at the time, it felt something special. I look back and I think how privileged we were to actually see Maiden at that level in such a theatre. I think they came the following year back again. I still can't believe it's somewhere in time. But when you see what they were like on those tours and how they treated every audience and every single person, and you think now where they are and how they're arguably the biggest, most successful metal band ever in the world. Yeah. Whatever thing you want to look at, whether it's records,
metal band. Yeah.
And you know why? Because they were so immense. So yeah, for me, it was a cracking gig. Really, really enjoyed it, and for it to be still with me with all these years later. Wow.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, listen, I'm glad you survived it. I'm glad you only fainted in it. Really wasn't.
Yeah, so are we.
I helped pull him up off the floor, if I recall.
Really pleased you're still with us.
You're a bit older.
So, look, just again with that in mind, Gav, what are your memories from the gig?
Yeah, obviously I was there, okay as well. I mean, the idea, like Jamie says, that we're watching. I mean, everybody watching this is interested in Iron Maiden will have seen the Live After Death DVD video. Imagine seeing that, just 20 feet away in front of you. Okay, it was a scale down, production because it was in a small theatre in Oxfordshire. But imagine seeing the set and that music so close up, so intimate. It was just mind blowing, really. And then going to the set list, as Jan mentioned, that's what we've got for Oxford. And they must have been very confident in the album, because if you think there's 6 songs there, I think, off the album out of 16, am I right?
Including the longest song on the album.
Exactly. So you've got an 8-minute song, Powerslave, and a 13
and the instrumental
13-minute plus. These guys knew they had a corker on their hands. They didn't have any shortage of hit albums to play music from. 6 out of 16 were from Powerslave. And no one complained. Believe me, they loved it. So that was my memory of the gig, was just how many songs from the new album, and that didn't matter at all, because we'd all put in the legwork to learn the songs. We'd had that 3 weeks, and it was perfect. And visually perfect. The band were completely in sync, sounded brilliant, and the equivalent of a Hammersmith Odeon on our doorstep. You can't get better than that. And that very venue was our everything we talked about. Magnum, Gary Moore, Anthrax, Dio, Saxon. All at that venue. How lucky were we? And I'll leave it there.
No, that's brilliant, Gav. And actually, you're right. The venue was fantastic to be so close. And even if you weren't close, you were really close, because the venue was so small. Now, even when we were that young, it felt massive, nowhere on the scale to some of the other venues that were around at the time, and in particular Wembley Arena, which we'd all been or were going to in the months after that. So, Gappy, what are your memories from the gig itself?
Well, I'd just like to start with the fact that Oxford Apollo was just such an amazing venue. I'd already been to see Grand Slam there. I'd seen Twisted Sister there on the front row, and it was the loudest gig I'd ever been to at the time. Probably only my 4th or 5th gig, but there you go. And I just remember queuing up for a ticket for Iron Maiden at the actual box office, which is what nobody does that now. You just don't do that now. And I bought my ticket, and I got a stalls ticket, and I would think I was row V, something like that. But of course, by the end of the day, I was down the front, as you were at those times. You didn't really care about getting in other people's way. You just forced your way to the front, because you needed to be near the band, and it was just absolutely unbelievable. I remember Bruce Dickinson coming on for Revelations, which is a song off Peace of Mind, and he came on with an acoustic guitar. Nobody thought he was going to do that, and he just played that guitar, the riff, while the other 2 guitar players, Adrian and Dave, were doing the main riffs. It was just absolutely unbelievable. The whole thing was just absolutely fantastic. I cannot fault it, but the main thing I remember about that is how they played Rhyme with the Ancient Mariner, a 13.5-minute song live, and it was just, how did they do that? It was just absolutely incredible. I looking back on it now, I just can't say enough about it. It was just so great.
I can almost picture myself being there, listening to you regaling those.
We're there, so that's cool.
My memories of the gig probably aren't. I don't remember it from start to finish. There's certain things that I do remember. I remember playing football a couple of hours before the gig on a hardcore, taking a tumble and really hurting my wrist, and then going home.
That's because you were rubbish at football.
Mum patching it up with a bit of a bandage, and then headed into the gig. Now, to the point of queuing up, my long-suffering mother queued up to the box office to get my ticket, and she made a bit of a fail and bought me a ticket in the
circle.
So, look, great, there it is. So I've still got it. And actually, if you look at that, it's quite near the back of the circle, to be fair. But, I'm not going to give her a hard time about that, because it was brilliant.
5 of your English pounds.
So I remember a couple of things I do really vividly remember about the gig and the first time about seeing Maiden was was the dry ice, the smell of the dry ice. I'd never really experienced that before, and just
it was incredible.
I smell that now and think that it takes me back to that time and think, God, it was amazing. Another thing that really stood out was Steve Harris in particular, and his energy and the way that he was running around the stage, and
that was just amazing.
Using his bass like a gun in many respects, and he was just fantastic. I do have a memory now, whether this is true or not, but in my own mind, it's true that I managed to get down, or certainly down in near the front for the encores, which of course in those smaller venues.
I don't remember seeing you there, son.
In those, you what? Sorry,
I don't remember seeing you down the front.
Yeah, so you probably carried out.
I bottled it in the last time. So.
in those times, as you were getting to the encores, of course, security would become more lax. They wouldn't be checking your tickets and etc. So I'm pretty sure I'm sure I was down the front for Hello Be Thy Name, or at least somewhere near that.
Yeah.
The gig finished. We came out, and you would just absolutely buzzing about it all. Now I'd been to a few gigs prior to that, and I bought T-shirts outside the venue, mainly because they were much cheaper than buying them inside the venue. And actually, when you look at the prices, I mean, you'd have probably been looking about £1 or £2 for a T-shirt outside the venue. That's how ridiculous it was. But I was so blown away, and I'd saved up my pocket money from the paper round I'd been doing at the time, and bought a Powerslave tour T-shirt, and it was absolutely fantastic. I think that wasn't actually that's the merch sheet, but the concept was slightly different. It was I've got a program here behind me. But it was effectively, that was the front of the T-shirt.
The best tour T-shirt of all time.
But it was amazing. I remember, we used to wear it all the time. And I said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll wash it inside out and last you ages." And of course, it kept getting caught on your studded belt, etc. And yeah, good days. And it was a fantastic.
It lasted about 18 months because I wore it all the time when I was washing up.
It was a fantastic gig. Really, really enjoyed it. So, look, they're great memories from the gig itself. And of course, Maiden then went on to not only conquer the UK, but they then went on to conquer arguably the rest of the world. And this was the album, and more importantly, I guess, the tour that broke them in the States. So I know, Gav, you've got a couple of things, I think, from that time. Live After Death, which was the subsequent live album recorded from that tour. And have you got anything or any thoughts around that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the old-fashioned VHS video came out, which was based on Long Beach Arena, and the album, 3 sides Long Beach. The last side was Hammersmith, which is great that the British band remembered a British gig in their live album. Yeah, so this was on the subsequent tour. Again, Maiden being Maiden were fabulous and met people during the day and behind the venue in Oxford. So
was that the same set list as Oxford, Gav? Interesting.
Pretty much, no loss for words.
Yeah.
Broadly the same.
Okay.
So had the opportunity to meet the guys just hanging around backstage. So I took along a couple of things that didn't matter if it got folded. Didn't take along vinyl, too afraid of getting it bust. So that was Bruce, Dave, and Steve. And I always remember Steve had a massive hold all over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Obviously his long hair, and that was his kind of overnight stuff. And he was heading off to the poshest hotel in Oxford. The Randolph. Yeah. And I always thought that was so cool that he'd show up at reception looking like a scruffy git.
Yeah, I remember that. It's amazing.
Hair down to his backside, hold all over his arm.
I'd completely forgotten that.
Yeah, millionaire, probably at the time. And I love that. I love the juxtaposition of the poshest hotel and the scruffy git, So yeah, and he signed that autograph just before he went to the hotel, so that was cool.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah, great days. One other thing I do remember actually from the gig was that at the end of the gig, Steve Harris and the guys I mean, they're one of the few bands that used to wear sweatbands. I thought they were brilliant. Of course, Steve would wear West Ham sweatbands or certainly claret and blue, and they'd be chucking them out and plectrums. And I thought that was brilliant. And I think that maybe is one of the things that's encouraged me, certainly from that time. I didn't get a wristband or sweatband or plectrum on that evening, but I've managed to collect a fair few over the years. So I think that was the thing that maybe sparked it off on that
your obsession.
So really, really great memories. So just look, I think we'll agree we were really lucky to be there, which was great. And we were all there again a couple of years later for the Somewhere Back in Time tour, or the Somewhere in Time tour.
Somewhere in Time tour.
I think I got Kylie Minogue on my mind.
Somewhere Back in Time was 2008, mate.
So
a future episode there. I think a future episode.
Yeah. So look, I hope you've enjoyed some of those thoughts and memories and recollections from that tour in particular. So we're going to now go to a regular feature that we wanted to cover off with everybody, and this is that we've got a real obsession, I think, all of us collectively, especially around collecting vinyl, some more than others.
Definitely an obsession.
Some of that obsessiveness is getting to the point where there's vinyl arriving almost every day or being ordered every day. So let's just maybe take a pick on just a couple of the things, whether it's vinyl, merchandise, or just general tat that we've ordered, which you might be interested in. Let's kick off with Jamo. Show us what you've got, Jamo.
Well, on the Postie, mostly I've not had any records since Christmas, so these are my Christmas presents. I got the most.
I can't believe that. What? Oh, what an album!
He's been a good boy.
Oh, that's fantastic, mate.
Well done.
Yeah. This is allowed Travis Barker actually smacks the hell out of this drum kit on this. It's a brilliant record. Savile Levine, bit of pop punk, but it's immense. I picked that up literally as a bargain, 11 quid on.
Under.
I happened to buy it on Christmas Day, which freaked me out because I was doing the dinner.
Only 11 quid though, wasn't it, or something?
11 quid. But luckily, yesterday, I love my postman. He came along with this baby.
Oh, it's immense.
And I was, I mean, I don't know whether you're that Aussie. I'm a Dio Sabbath man, to be honest. And this record, I haven't got the original. But when you do a reissue, make it a gatefold, make it a couple of records, put an extra bit in there with live stuff on, and I'm all yours with proper remastered it.
That's brilliant, mate.
And brilliant. Give me some Martin Ling. Give me some stuff to read while I'm listening to my metal. But that's an absolute banger. So and it's a bargain as well. It was literally.
So would you recommend all of those pieces of vinyl that you've shown us today?
I haven't listened to the Thunder one yet, bless. But otherwise, Mob Rules, you can't go wrong. That Volbeat is an absolute classic. And a bit of Avril. Quiet one.
Yeah, it's great. Great bands as well. And actually, the Thunder one, when you do get around to it, is a good album. Is a great album. Actually,
I listened last year, but I didn't have
a shout out to those boys as well. And you've got the coloured vinyl as well, haven't you? I think that was is it the brown and white? Yes. I think.
How random's that? Brown and white. Yeah. Let's go for a brown and a white.
Isn't it? But yeah, look, definitely worth a listen. So thanks, Jam. So that's what arrived today. Really looking to see what's going to arrive tomorrow for you in your household. But
that's it. I've literally just had the one record so far.
We could probably do a podcast on your deliveries alone in a week. Thank you. Gappy, what's been arriving in your post bag?
Oh, well, the most amazing thing that I've ever seen, you didn't mention it in your intro. I lost a lot of stuff, memorabilia-wise, in a big flood that I had in my house. But I managed to get hold of on eBay, and it arrived. It arrived yesterday. Was the actual? Where is it? There it is.
And I'll solo you.
Not the actual ticket I got, but obviously it's from the same gig that we all went to.
Oh, fantastic!
Excellent, well done.
And it was probably the most amazing thing that I've ever picked up from the postman. There you go. And the other thing I picked up recently, we're all big Iron Maiden fans, and I mean, what the hell? What the hell, Iron Maiden? Look at that shit. the postage stamps,
the
collection pack.
That's a nice set.
It's just unbelievable.
Really
With
great.
the Eddie ones as well.
That's what I got. Yeah.
Well, look, let me just make a really quick comment on the Maiden stuff. I know it's a bit of a Maiden show today, but on the stamps in particular, I feel really sorry for anyone that doesn't live in the UK, because there's been a cyber attack apparently on Royal Mail, and therefore nothing's going abroad. So if you're in Germany, Spain, France, the US, Australia, anywhere in the world, and you're waiting for your Maiden stamps, trust me, they're definitely worth it. They're fantastic, and hopefully that
It's one of the best purchases I've ever made, honestly.
And if you're a cheapskate like me, this was £6. £6.
It's great, isn't it?
You can't
With the East London postmark too. So Gav, what's arrived in your post bag over the past?
It's not so much Postie's bin as Santa's bin, but it's a lovely present from my boys. So
it's a great album, that as well.
You know, typically Iron Maiden. You know, I'll pretty much buy anything with Iron Maiden written on it, because you know it's going to be high quality. It's going to be good value. I mean, check it out.
It's brilliant.
Tons of stuff to read.
It's got a really rubbish track instead of a really good one from the original
controversially, they've gone with what the main man Steve wanted in the first place, apparently, which was to put Total Eclipse instead of Gangland. They used it as a B-side, which kind of was seen as a mistake because they felt the Gangland was weaker. So they've reinstated it, and I have to say I agree with Gappy. Mistake. It's not good.
Gangland is definitely a better song, and Clive Burr's only writing track.
Writing credit, yeah. So yeah, but apart from that, you know, it's you do what Steve says when you're in Iron Maiden. It's a lovely collection, and you know, decently priced as well. So that's all I've got apart from the stamps. And
brilliant. Well, listen, I just pulled this out because you're talking about B-sides. I'd have actually put that one, Burning Ambition. I know it's a Paul Di'Anno one, but it's fantastic. What a great tune that is. If you haven't heard it, you can download the B-sides.
I don't actually remember that one, so
it's brilliant. It's such a great tune. And actually, I'd love to get through singing that. It'd be fantastic.
That's on my want list, the running free picture cover.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's an original, of course. So
yeah.
And actually on those old originals which I'm sure you may or may not know, the Eddie on the inner.
It's different.
Yeah, it's the same as the first album and Killers. Yeah,
it's brilliant. So I've had a couple of things arrive from the Postie. I don't have that much arrive. I'm not in the same league as a couple of these guys.
You're not.
I've got this album turned up.
What an album!
So arguably, this
we're going to break off from metal for a minute.
Yeah, well, look, arguably, this is the greatest acoustic live album of all time.
It is, without doubt, the greatest.
And I'm putting Nirvana in that as well, and that's a great album. But that is absolutely brilliant. So if you appreciate good music, if you like listening to something a little bit softer on a Sunday morning, the harmonies, the musicianship, but also the stories that Mick Jones is talking about in between the songs as well. It's absolutely fantastic. It's really intriguing. I love it. It's brilliant.
It only takes 19 of them to play it.
You what, sorry?
I said it only takes 19 of them to play it.
Well, yeah, it's great. And actually, if you do ever get a chance to go and see them now, definitely worth it, right? Because they are fantastic.
It is really good. I'll give you that, yeah.
It's really, really good. Okay, the other one that turned up was I've got No Sleep to Hammersmith for this special edition. It's the 40th anniversary, so it's been out 2 or 3 years, I think. These are great, right? So you can pick these up. I think this was £28 on £29 on Amazon. Not the Amazon weren't the seller; it was a third party that sold it. But it's great. So you've got a bit of some stuff that it's like looking at
the best album in my opinion.
If you like looking at pictures, which most of these guys do, this is brilliant and this is really good stuff. But there's also a live from Aylesbury from the Friars in 1979. What's good about this versus the No Sleep to Hammersmith? You've almost got No Sleep to Hammersmith at Aylesbury. Of course, No Sleep to Hammersmith was mainly recorded in Newcastle, ironically.
Yeah.
that's definitely worth it. So if you haven't got it, or you're thinking about getting it, look at that.
Yeah, it's a three disc set, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's really
Absolutely
good.
fantastic.
Really high quality. Yeah.
Really, really good. So good. So that's Postie's been, I think, a good haul of stuff over the past week or so. I'm sure we'll be getting some stuff that doesn't get maybe doesn't get the favourable reviews that we've given today on what's arrived on our post boxes over the past couple of days. Let's just have a touch on tour talk. Now, Gappy and I were lucky enough to go to Volbeat a week before Christmas. We travelled over to Wales, and it was an arduous journey for both of us. More for me because I had a little bit further to go.
Driving?
Yeah, nearly 7.5 hours to get to our destination. Not Cardiff, we were staying a bit further on from that. But anyway, that's an aside. The gig was fantastic. We had a brilliant afternoon, a few mates, a few drinks in the Prince of Wales in the centre of Cardiff, followed by a really great gig. So we had Napalm Death, we had Skin Dread, who are from Newport in Wales, so not a million miles away from Cardiff, so almost a home gig. And then we have Volbeat. So Gappy, I'm going to have you can tell them all about it and tell them how cool the gig was, if you like.
Well,
I've just told everyone what we saw.
Yeah, you've pretty much said everything about it.
I can't remember.
You knew Napalm Death from back in the day when you used to live in Birmingham, and it was the first time I was going to see Napalm Death, and I was a bit dubious, but they were fucking awesome. They were so good, and it was an excellent show. Skindred were brilliant. I've seen them before at Download as we'd seen them. They were brilliant as well. But Volbeat was the fifth time I'd seen them, and they were absolutely fantastic. Brilliant show.
Fifth time.
First time I'd ever seen them, where Rob Caggiano, used to be an Anthrax, had actually let his hair down, and it was amazing. The bloke's got such long hair, and he usually wears it up in a fucking ponytail. But it was absolutely fantastic. No, it was a really good gig. The only bad thing about that gig is we were told to stay over this bloody line that they had on the floor. All these security guards were telling us to stay over this line, and we just kept moving over this line and having to go back across it. It was just what the hell is that all about? So, but it was amazing. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it was a good night. Look, great weekend, and what a way to lead into Christmas. So I actually got a drumstick as well, but it's on the wall.
Oh,
so
yeah, and you scrabbled all over the floor for that drumstick as well.
Yeah, I did, yeah. So, it's happily on the wall with all the other drumsticks and drum skins, etc. So that's cool. Jamie, I think you were lucky enough to go and see Saxon and Diamond Head before Christmas as well, weren't you? So do you want to give the guys a...
Yeah, at the Roundhouse. So quite an intimate gig for Saxon. I'm seeing them for the umpteenth time. Like most of you probably, anyone watching this has probably seen Saxon. With Diamond Head, who were brilliant. They played like a set of Metallica covers. I'm not that much of a Diamond Head fan, but it was immense. It was awesome. It was brilliant.
Correct him in the comments.
It was excellent. Fantastic set list from Saxon. I prefer... Obviously, I love Saxon from back in the day, but give me the latest record, which I happen to have here. If you haven't checked that out, I know some people have bought it and haven't even actually properly listened to it yet. But it's now
only body because I had a flag in my box set.
But for me, it's just but Saxon just keep getting better and better, and they're getting heavier and heavier. Battering Ram, Metalhead. Some of the records they've done are just brilliant. So if you think that Saxon are just wheels of steel or they're just never surrender, yeah, they're decent tracks, and I loved seeing them. They play those tracks. The newer stuff is just immense. So get the latest record if you haven't already got it. And yeah, going forward, we're looking forward. Gappy and I literally just yesterday we've got tickets to see Hot Damn supporting Hayseed Dixie in March. Tickets for South of Salem, who immense proper new metal band. They're supporting Wednesday 13 in April. So as 2023 is shaping up rather nicely for metal gigs. So yeah, looking forward to it. Here's Dill.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks for that review of Saxon and Diamond Head at the iconic and amazing venue of the Roundhouse. Gav, I think you went to see Magnum on their 50th anniversary show again just before Christmas. So do you want to tell us about that?
We're talking about the Roundhouse being a brilliant venue. It's the first time I went to KK Steel Mill, Wolverhampton, and that was just took me back to an old style venue. You know, took me back to the 80s and 90s of the London venues we used to go to, because it was a proper rock venue. Bars everywhere, black everywhere, stage, lights, PA, but the extra spice on the top was KK's bits and bobs everywhere, like flight cases with Judas Priest stenciled on them. There was various backdrops and just goodies just tucked away. It wasn't obvious. It was just, wow, this is so cool. And I actually pointed it out to a German guy, and he hadn't connected the KK Steel Mill with the fact that it's KK's place. And when I pointed it out to him, he freaked out. He completely freaked out. It was brilliant. Yeah. And he does rock up. Dead Daisies were there on the Wednesday before, and he rocked up and was like, mingling and stuff. So I had my fingers crossed to meet him, but he wasn't there. But so yeah, Magnum were the main band. Obviously, love Magnum. Been into them since I was, 11, something like that, with Marauder back in the day. They're still great. They're still fantastic. Quite a few lineup changes, as I'm sure everybody knows. But, still completely rocking it. And, absolutely great still. I was there because I was helping out an old friend of ours, John Flotty, because his son, Billy, was the support band. Billy Watman. Look him up. It's fantastic. He's just a solo guitarist. But the third great thing about the gig, apart from Magnum, the venue, and Billy, so the fourth great thing, was just how warm and welcoming everybody was. He came on first. England were losing at football, and there was 600 people watching Billy, and they were so responsive to one guy and a guitar, and it was such a warm atmosphere, and it warmed your cockles because they were just so just so nice. Everybody, there were two support bands. They sold a lot of merch, and it was a good time was had by all pre-Christmas. So yeah, like you guys, I'm coming to some of the same gigs as you. Got Wasp, got Maiden, got some other stuff lined up. Download, obviously, with Metallica. So yeah, it's going to be a good year. We'll continue, the Postie's bin and the tour talk in every episode, so you'll be able to keep up with what we're doing. But let us know who you're going to see and in the comments below.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gav. And I'm sure people watching this will be going to some or have been to some of the gigs that we've been to. If you're interested in seeing any of the gigs that we've been to, I normally upload 1 or 2 songs from those gigs on Dill's Rock channel. So please go to YouTube and have a look, subscribe, give us a comment, let me know where you were. I've got lots of comments back recently from the Massive Wagons from Download last year now. That doesn't seem like that long ago. And equally a couple of great videos from the Dead Daisies, which was fantastic. It was a great show, actually, wasn't it? Even though it wasn't full, it was really.
Dead Daisies was amazing. It was
it was a really good gig.
Great gig.
And that guy on drums as well. My gosh, he's amazing, isn't he? Just totally blew me away. And there's a Twitter. Is it Brian Tinchy? I think his name is.
Yeah.
There's a clip of him on Twitter today. If you don't follow him on Twitter, follow. He's doing an Eddie Van Halen solo. I mean, can you be any more talented than be a drummer as good as he is? And then
when I saw that, I thought it was going to be Hot for Teacher, but it wasn't drumming.
Hear about it later. Yeah. He does. Hear about it later, which is one of the greatest songs Van Halen have ever done. It's absolutely fantastic.
So anyway, look, guys, thanks so much for your time. If you're watching this and you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment, get involved. We'll be coming back and talking about lots of the iconic bands from those days. Look out for AC/DC, look out for Metallica, look out for some of those iconic Doningtons from the 80s as well. So we'll be talking about all of that over the coming weeks. Guys, thanks for your time today. And no doubt, hopefully, we'll see you all soon.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
See you about.